Good evening, guys. Eric here. Just want to shake things up because I don't like to talk about philosophy's impacts on, of course, just politics, economics, a lot of the big stuff that really hasn't worked. It also has a lot to inform us in the realm of other things that, well, quite frankly, haven't really worked yet. And this is in the world of relationships. And when you can finally capture a capture is kind of a funny word to use for it, right? But when you can fundamentally gain access to a real concise worldview, one that's very simple and parsimonious and kind of covers everything with wonderful overarching themes and principles, those sorts of things, you can finally kind of get the world to work in general, which is fantastic. So when it comes to relationships, and I'm specifically talking about, I guess you could explicitly say sexual relationships, although more intimate relationships, I suppose, could be kind of considered in those in terms of its emotional intimacy. But one problem that we've had for a very long time is this general curse, you could almost call it that, of people who cheat in monogamous relationships. And it happens all the time. It's ridiculous. I'm not sure, depending on how the question is asked, I think it's as high as about 80% of men and 70% of women will cheat on a partner at some point in their lifetimes. So it's a lot. And the real issue here is not really even sexual in its really not so even much sexual in its nature, but is more based on a lack of integrity in society, as can be shown by individuals. And it's really, oh my god, it's so astoundingly sad. Here's the thing, we have these problems with language and really representing the internal self, the self of thoughts and of feelings, of words spoken silently inside your own head, with the external you, the external self, which is the self of actions, of words you speak to others, of ideas and concepts you are conveying to other people around you, the external self. And a lot of people, because we're creatures of the earth, we are animals, we are mammals, we are primates, we are not these angelic divine sparks that just try to work with this brain that has evolved over 4 billion years of biological evolution. So when you understand what we are really fundamentally as beings of a structure of biology and of the structure of how our minds work and who we are, and we understand that we are often at odds between what is right, what is moral, and what is easy to choose in terms of consequences. And we so often misrepresent ourselves, and we misrepresent ourselves to other human beings. And this is a problem we all have. We all deal with this struggle of really representing who we are with who we show to other people, and even with ourselves, because the first person we ever learn to lie to is, of course, ourselves. So why is there such a tremendous amount of this lack of integrity in sexuality and in the realm of relationships, in the realms of really professing to believe in what you believe? Well, it's because so few people know who they are. And that is fundamental to understand. It's not just that so much of the world is dishonest, so much of the world as a functional brain is dishonest with itself. It is not representing what it states and what it feels it represents. So it's not that 80%, up to 80% of men and 70% of women, up to 70% of women cheat. It's that 80% of men and 70% of women don't know what they are. And that is the most important thing to understand. And that principle is so undervalued and undercommunicated in society. that if 80% of men and 70% of women just admitted to themselves and admitted to the people around them that I am incapable of monogamous relationships, I am polyamorous, that's who and what I am capable of. So few people are willing to do this because, unfortunately, 80% of men, and I'm using these terms, so much of society lies to others because they lie first to themselves about what they are and what they fundamentally are capable of doing in terms of the consistency of the actions they are taking in the world. And if all of these people, now, philosophy has nothing to say about what is correct in terms of monogamy or polyamory. It's, what's better, ice cream or froyo, right? And it doesn't matter. That's aesthetics. It's what you wish to pursue in voluntary relationships with the other human beings around you. So it's for you to decide what is best for you in that situation. But the problem, it's not the sex that's the problem, it's the dishonesty, the lack of integrity, the lack of consistency and virtue that people are willing to show each other, and more importantly, show themselves, because that is the ultimate deception, is self-deception. So the more integrity we can have, the more that it won't be that we'll have necessarily more people who are monogamous, but society will represent what it is. People will actually speak clearly upon what they can accomplish as beings, what they can do, what they are really capable of. So people won't cheat really in a free. Once philosophy works, there won't really be cheating anymore. It's just that people will be so honest with themselves and each other that people will openly and readily say, I am polyamorous, I am monogamous, I am looking for whatever it is I'm looking for, and wherever people can meet inside voluntary interactions with each other, that is what is important, and that is that's what counts. Those make good relationships, not bad or hard. It's not all the partners, it's the lack of honesty, it's the lack of integrity in which the worldviews that people profess to believe in. And then fundamentally, the pledges and promises, and dare I even use the C word, contracts that people forge with each other, and the real meaning of what it means to keep your word and really have integrity as a being. And of course, I want to wrap up here with saying, okay, so again, I went over this idea that, monogamy, polyamory, it's aesthetics. It's what you want. Philosophy has nothing to say with what is moral in that regard. What philosophy does have to say is that if you wish to pursue happiness as a being, you first and foremost have to have integrity as a being. Because it is only through integrity which you can achieve virtue and virtuous actions with the other beings around you. That is how you can achieve virtue. And that is the only path to happiness. It is, as Aristotle so succinctly put it, right? Integrity equals virtue equals happiness. So as long as we stop lying to each other, as long as we stop fundamentally lying to ourselves and really represent who we are and no longer be afraid of it for whatever reason, whether you're monogamous or polyamorous, it doesn't matter. As long as you have the honesty as a being to pursue truth, you will find yourself in a beautiful world where you can actually have wonderful relationships with other human beings and you can find happiness with the other human beings around you. All right, so thank you very much, guys. Have a wonderful night. I love talking about philosophy and all of its implications because philosophy fundamentally extends into all areas of humanness, kind of really spreading the ideas of humanity fundamentally and trying to get it to stick with as many of the primates and the mammals around you is wonderful because humanity is a beautiful thing. Humanity is a beautiful thing. Humanity is a beautiful thing to see, especially when you have it work in the communities around you because you represent it, and that is fundamental. Integrity is an embodiment of that consistency, so work towards those things and you will find yourself a very, very happy human being, regardless of preference and aesthetics. Have a wonderful good night, guys.